Okay, so make a quick look back to last week, and I look forward to this week. I think we're in a difficult spot right now as a team mentally. Our on-field focus and intensity yesterday gives me great hope that we're intent on the next opponent, but it's a difficult task when guys have put so much into their season preparation and so much into this first part of the season, and to be about as close as we could be to winning 2 games in a row and not come out with victories. It's a real test, and so I think we're in a good spot. I don't have much to judge. Toward the end of the week, I'll probably have a better idea about how the guys are responding. But right now, I hear a lot of talk about just getting better in areas that we haven't done as well at. I think it's appropriate to talk about the final series of regulation last week, and there were where we failed, or at least where we failed last. But a lot of our focus right now has been on where we need to get better. We need to do a better job of stopping the run on defense, and need to do a better job of running the ball on offense. That doesn't mean we can't be a pass-first football team on offense. I think we're showing some signs of being able to really connect in the passing game. Those are encouraging signs, but championships they're not being one-dimensional, and so we have to find some balance there. We have to work toward balance, and we were not able to run the ball, especially in our goal line short yard situations last week, well enough to win the football game. So as you can imagine, all of our focus at this point on a Wednesday has completely shifted away from anything specific about last game toward the things that we're trying to improve on, but also our opponent, and prepare for our opponent and a really athletic Houston Christian team. I'm sure they'll be an angry team. They're coming off of a really difficult road trip at Nebraska. Houston Christian will be one of the most athletic teams that we face all season long. They really get off blocks, close well on defense, take a lot of calculated risks. Offensively, really strong in the running game, the biggest offensive line that we've faced, and 2 really capable running backs have done the majority of the work there, and a quarterback that can make all the throws, good athletes, receivers on the outside that can get open and track deep balls. So a real challenge for us. They're solid, very solid on special teams. Not a lot of opportunities there in the special teams game. Sometimes we play a special teams opponent that gets real kind of unorthodox, and we always look for opportunities there. They do a nice job in their offense, defense, and special teams of being sound, solid, and letting great athletes go to work. So we're excited about the challenge. 3rd straight road trip, and we've got to prove that we can win on the road if we want to accomplish our team goals this year. Any questions? I think the evaluation part of that has to be the first step, and it's the part that can go wrong most easily. If I don't have a good assessment, or if I don't have my thumb on the pulse of the team, and I'm saying things that aren't hitting home with them, or our coaches are, then I think it can be a lot of wasted time and wasted words. My assessment after this last game was that our team felt like we had fought as a team to put ourselves in a position to win at the end. I did not hear or see finger pointing. We failed. We can start as coaches and assess that. As coaches, all coaches recognize if the play doesn't work, it was the wrong play call, and that's just that's just the reality of those situations. And so we want to own that type of responsibility first, set the model for the players, and then if there does seem to be some divisiveness where the offense or defense is pointing at each other, or certain position groups pointing at each other, or within position groups, some guy that's not playing much thinks he should play more, then we have to address that, kind of model it, use analogies, emphasize teamwork and camaraderie. I don't think we're there right now. I think you saw a team last week that the last 3 weeks that's been willing to fight to the very end of the game. I think you've seen offense and defense and kicking game working together, where we're putting together 3 or 4 or 5 consecutive series of stops and scores in critical moments in fourth quarters. And so I think there's a realization that we can be a better football team, we can win more games, and I think they're hungry to do that and answer the call to get better in areas where we need to get better. Any scheming deficiencies we would have, we would have been blind to that going into the game, and we would be blind to that going into Houston Christian. If we thought there was a better scheme, we would have used it and called it. I think there's always an assessment of are we putting our players, specifically our players, in the best position to win those situations, and there are adjustments moving forward, maybe moving players around either within positions or just changing. Even something as small as changing the percentages of our calls and leaning into being more, for example, more of a pressure defense or less of a pressure defense, more of a basic defense. All those things can be assessed after a disappointing game like that, and we wouldn't want to go into details about that on camera for for the next opponent. We want to try to keep to ourselves as much as we can. But we're just quite simply in the end, in the final analysis, we gave up over 300 yards rushing, and that's just almost impossible to win a football game in that situation. Offensively, we fought back and passed the football really well, and got some stops, some critical stops late in the fourth quarter against the rushing attack. So there were some adjustments being made during the game and some improvements, but overall we just need to improve and make sure we put together a full game of solid run defense.
The offense seems to be able to move the ball better than we've seen really in the past couple of years. How do you turn that momentum into points?
I think the majority of our ball movement has been really in the fourth quarter and from behind, and so we need to look at maybe how to find explosiveness throughout the game. Could be, it could be that we need to open things up earlier in the game, and yet still try to achieve that balance. I think we have been, at least in the first 3 quarters. And again, as a reminder, we've played much of the season with a 2-score lead, and so doesn't always translate. Like last year doesn't always translate to this year. Fair question and good assessment. And the first couple games don't translate maybe to the third game. But it's possible to be a balanced football team that's kind of pass first oriented, and it's possible to be a balanced championship football team in both cases, but that's run first oriented. And so we need to kind of figure out what our players are most capable of. And it appears that at least in part that we've been able to open up a little bit in the passing game and be more dynamic late in games. Some of that could certainly be because we had insisted on running the ball for the first 3 quarters in the last couple of games. There's some of that works together.
Forward.
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it really probably doesn't have as much to do with non-conference or conference or a certain percentage of the season. It's every single week, and so what I was alluding to there with your previous question, really a lot, even though we were outrushed in game 2 and we were outrushed in game 3, we were outrushed in much different ways. I thought in game 2 we were controlling the clock. We had a 2-score lead for quite a bit of the time. We were really content with not taking unnecessary risks and putting that lead at risk. And then when we needed to, open up more on offense, we did, and seemed capable of doing that. Just, we're one play away. And then in this game, really, it was, from the start, we rushed the ball fairly efficiently early, but we also did it with some creativity. And then, we were playing in a 1-score game for a long time. I thought we had a chance to take the lead and build on the lead in the first half, and did not do that. In part because we were in situations where analytically it makes sense to go for it in short yardage situations, but we probably could have taken the proverbial field goal. I put taken in quotations because it's not 100%. Like, they don't just give you 3 points if you ask for them. You have to actually kick a field goal and execute that. But our kicker's been very good and solid, and was probably a higher percent prospect to just go ahead and kick the field goals in those situations. Maybe we could have built on a lead and created a little bit different game. He sees the game well. We use the term precision passing offense. He can do that at a really high level where the old adage in football is that the passing offense, there's more bad things that can happen. There are more turnovers, tips at the line of scrimmage, interceptions, and incomplete passes are generally no gains. It's not as often as true in the run game. So at times it can seem like a riskier proposition, but his abilities to see things, and what he's demonstrated in games so far, is that it's not as risky of a proposition as maybe a quarterback or a passing offense is just trying to create explosives through the air. It looks like has shown the ability to be somewhat of a precision passer, and potentially can control the football and move the football consistently with the passing game. Yes, yeah, we're much more effective, really, the last 2 weeks at passing the football than we have been running the football. There are opportunities in that acknowledgement, and there are, I think, are dangers in that acknowledgement. I don't think that the way to win a championship in our league is to go completely to the passing offense and be an air raid football team. The other way to look at it is that the last 2 teams have beaten us running the ball. That's the other way to look at it. Like, running teams, the team that rushes for the most yards generally has the upper hand in terms of statistically winning the football game. So we don't want to lose games, pass for more yardage, and then say, well, we just need to pass more and then we'll win. Certainly we can pivot and make some directional course changes, emphasize more of this or that. That tends to be working, and I think that's incumbent on us. But we need to improve our rushing attack and our rush defense. Yeah, big challenge for us. Any road trip presents logistical challenges and weather challenges. It's a new place, new stadium, new environment, new visuals, and the heat and humidity will be part of that. I think best that I can tell will be on the east sideline, and the sun should be glaring on us pretty good there in the first quarter or so until the sun goes down. But overall, it'll be a night game played under the lights, but still warm temperature with a lot of humidity. I think number one, it's always going to come down to toughness, and we've shown mental toughness. We've shown a willingness to fight for 4 quarters plus, and that's going to be number one. And then number 2 is a realization that toughness just can't show up on game day. It's got to start with it early in the week on preparation and follow through. In order to have the best chance to win, it's got to follow through all week long. I think we have to be and then willing to take that fight again on game day. That's something that, to me, oftentimes football is about that. It's essentially, when it's boiled down to its very essence, it's a fight. And so a team that's unwilling to fight has no chance. And that can be, I think we've all seen it in this sport. It's not, there are some other sports that are a little more free flowing and fun, that you play to score, and you play to create highlights. Football, you play to win, and that's the only fun that comes out of it. And so we've got to be willing to fight, and we've got to do that for a 3rd consecutive week where we haven't tasted victory, and I've been pretty disappointed with such a near miss at the end of games, late in games. That's hard.
Piggybacking off of that, though, Coach, despite your record right now, do you sense, though, that the team is churning in terms of their attitude? Like you just mentioned, they had a couple of near misses already, but they're getting closer now. So do you think that you're starting to show that more and more each week?
I appreciate that. I think a lot of times as a coach or media member, fan, even administrators, we look at we can look at the ascension or improvement of a program, in relation to Colorado State and in relation to South Dakota, as UNC narrowed the gap as a program. maybe, you know, it's hard to tell. It's still early in the season, but there would be indicators of that with close games that we probably wouldn't have been able to achieve in the past. Players care about the team more than the program. The program to them is long in the past and long in the future. They want to win right now, and our team is 1-2, and our only victory is over a Division II opponent at home. We need to show that we can win on the road against good opponents at our level of football that have good athletes. Where they, at certain points on the field, you know, every game we play, the opponent will have matchup advantages, and we'll have matchup advantages, and it'll be roughly equal. So to go and prove that on the road, I think is something that our players, you know, I don't think we're overconfident about that right now. I think we're hungry to prove to ourselves and everybody else that we can do this.